Welcome to Breakfast Central. It's a rainy morning. I'm sure that those on the mainland in Lagos cannot relate. But those on the island in Lagos, it's a terribly... I don't even know what word to use to describe the weather, but the rain is so bad that it's already getting to our knees. I don't know how we're going to cope in 2025. Nimet already warned us, but I guess the next few weeks or months would unveil what the weather has for us. But you're welcome to the show from wherever you're watching and from whatever the weather looks like at your end. I am Olive Emoli.
I'll let you. Wow. I'll do it.
I wanted to stand on existing protocols today.
Okay.
So I wanted you to go. So
okay, let me go. It's Breakfast Central. I mean, this is the one-stop shop for breakfast television. Will bring you everything you need to know. Insightful discussions, great banter, humor, and of course, we also serve, like the Gen Zs will say, we serve looks. I mean, look at this handsome man and this beautiful lady giving everything it needs to give, isn't it?
From the UK.
It's okay. It's okay. Anyway, standing on existing protocols and you know,
bro, you're jogging on existing protocols, bouncing on existing protocols.
I'm happy and proud to be here on a day like this. I mean, it's very interesting to note that Breakfast Central is being watched in so many places, and we thank you for that. I was somewhere yesterday, and I did meet some of the in quotes, what we call the orgas, of course, those at the top of the company, and they were like, oh, really? I kept looking at you. You look so familiar. Oh, yeah. Oh, really? Yes. I don't miss your shows. I watch your shows from the morning and so on. And you guys are doing a very, very good job.
That's great
the
feedback.
way you present the news is quite different from what we are used to. You guys take it from a different. I'm like, yeah, that's what we do. That's who we are. You know, and that's exactly what we're going to do today, because later on today at exactly, let me see if I can remember, 10 a.m., we will be having for the first time all the political party chairmen. They will be gathered at a hall. Inside that hall, we're going to have conversations that would talk about the 2027, road to 2027. We'll talk about the elections. Possibly, if they're going to tell us that as well, that will be what we'll do. But we'll broadcast that live here on News Central. It also shows that we're the first, and we always strive to be the first in doing things that have not been done yet.
Absolutely.
That's it.
So where do we start our wake-up conversations from? Let's start from Sokoto, where the Sultan of Sokoto has said social media is a terrorist organization.
Wow, are you on social media?
Yes.
Are you on social media?
Yes, I am.
Does that mean you both are terrorists?
It means the Sultan of Sokoto is misinformed and he needs to get with the times, because I mean, it's like a bread knife. It was used to cut bread. It could be used to murder. It depends on the person behind it and what you apply to it. Everything has a good and a bad side. Yes.
That's a good one. That's a good angle to look at it. I also think when I watched that, I don't know if you have that video on queue, but once we have that video on queue, let's see if we can take it. Let's take that video so our viewers can get to understand what took place yesterday and while the Sultan was trending. Take a look.
You can't erase history. You can't. What happened has happened, and it's there written. You can't come and be through social media. But that's one terrorist organization, social media. Social media is a terrorist organization. What they do, put somebody sit in his comfort room and formulate stories, and you will swear that it's true. So, social media is a terrorist organization that we must deal with. Security agencies must deal with this terrorist organization called social media.
Well, my problem isn't just about what the Sultan said. It's the people that are clapping. You know, those things usually annoy me. When you see politicians who say something sometimes and it's a little
out of place,
ill-informed, and then you now see people clapping. Like, why? Why
I can tell you that 50%, 80% of people who are clapping, they didn't listen.
Yeah, they just felt, there's a pause and the silence, it's time to clap.
Yes, they were just thinking, and you know that thing you do when everybody claps? I mean, Benga, you can clap now, so, and then and then you just join. You have
just
no
like
idea.
that gentleman that was not in the, I mean, it's a distraction, but that was not in his head.
Yeah.
And FCT minister said, I know this guy is fake. You dress like Usman Dafodio.
Fake. So look at his head. You went to wear Usman Dafodio cap. You think I will not know you? You're fake. You are fake. You are fake. You are fake. Look at your head. You're nodding your head like this. You think I won't know you? You wear Usman Dafodio cap. You're fake.
Yeah, so, but the Sultan has a point.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was his delivery, though.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say. I think we should
the ills of social media and
Yeah.
disinformation. We live in a post-truth world. We've seen the damage that fake news can do. We remember radio, television, Milko and RTML in Rwanda, the role it played in the genocide. So we need to use social media more responsibly.
I agree. I think it's the way he put it. Possibly, he instead of saying social media is a terrorist organization, I think he would have said that terrorist organization have amplified the use of social media in perpetrating, war, conflicts, killings, and so on. That's a bit understandable, which we agree, because we've seen that this is not the first time. Globally, we've seen terrorist organizations go as far as ensuring that they can get persons who are ill-informed or not informed about their actions to come over to their side. In other words, you could say employ, recruit, and so on, so they can carry out their evil act. So yes, we agree with you, Sultan, if that's the angle you looked at it from.
Oh, yes.
But in the aspect of saying the social media in itself is like saying your house is
taking it
evil.
too far.
I'm going to take this much later when we look at what Nigerians are saying. But I wanted to share, look at the criteria for an organization to be determined a terrorist organization.
Okay. We'll take a look at that. Anyway, we'll go on a quick break. When we come back, we have more wake-up conversations to look into. This time, what's happening with CBEX? I'm sure you've been following that story. Wake-up conversation continues in a moment. Stay with us.
Back to Breakfast Central. Before we went on the break, looking at wake-up conversations, we did play the clip where the Sultan of Sokoto declared social media to be a terrorist organization, and I was checking for what would make an organization be deemed a terrorist organization. The typical criteria is the use of threat or violence, political or ideological goals, meaning that their actions aim to intimidate a population across a government, structured organization, there's evidence of leadership, planning or operational capability, actual acts, that's involvement in past terrorist acts is usually required, not just intent. There are a number of other criteria, and then, organizations that can then move for this to be called. Yep. And like Benga and you had said earlier, I understand that there are ills that social media can propagate, but there's also good, really great good that social media can propagate. And for the ills, what we then should look at is creating institutions, formidable institutions, that when the ills are explored, there is a remedy. For example, somebody goes on social media and starts to spew lies about another person. There is no evidence to prove that. That's defamation. You can take them to court because they have defamed you. The defense to defamation is truth. So if they can prove that what they're saying is the truth, then there's no defense. So what we should explore is a way to ensure that the ills have a remedy. For every wrong, there's a remedy.
And social media organizations also have a way of regulating content. Because if you look at X, for example, there's something called community notes.
Absolutely, same with Facebook.
They will flag certain videos for being false, and same with Facebook too. So it's not as bad as people. Even
with Instagram, there's certain words you can't use. Is why when people want to write certain words, they use asterisk, because you can't use certain profanities. If not, they'll block your post or your page. So
and you can also be reported.
So it's literally saying that it's a terrorist organization. I do not think is taking it too far, and it's literally a case of throwing away the baby and the bathwater. Every system has its strengths and its flaws, and in this case, I think that social media has done a lot of good. Let's not throw the baby and bathwater.
I mean, like you said, we could cut the Sultan some slack. Let's believe that is not what he wanted to say.
Exactly.
Let's just believe that he was going to say that social media is a tool that is being used by terrorist organizations.
Even the terrorists, how many times? Okay, well, they use social media.
They really do.
Anyway, away from that, another thing that came to light on social media, it's the unfortunate situation where Nigerians were fraudulently, I wanted to use a pidgin word, they obtained So Nigerians were fraudulently in broad daylight. They were taken advantage of, And this CBEX platform had promised 100% returns to a number of Nigerians. There are those who report being able to cash out the first few days, which is typical with every Ponzi scheme. You're able to get your money back in the first few days. But then by Tuesday, reports of people flooding the headquarters and videos emerged on social media because they could not access their money. Again, reminds us of the fact that when it is too good to be true, it most likely is too good to be true. The EFCC and the Interpol have said that they can guarantee that everybody will get their money back. Even though that feels like aspire to perspire to Maguire if you require. I don't know how that is possible, but that would be great.
It's a big problem. Benga, I want to say something?
I was just going to say EFCC and Interpol. I mean, EFCC didn't have to put that statement out.
Well,
9 out of 10 times in the past that we've seen this sort of things happen, it never ends well.
No.
And they don't recover their funds. So people are already devastated. They're trying to come to terms with this. Don't give them, and when you give a drowning man a rope, he will cling at every straw he can. Don't give them, I mean, it breaks my heart to say this, but don't give them any sort of hope. Any sort of false hope, because it's gone. I mean, and for those that have not had breakfast this morning, food for thought, that money is not coming back.
Bingo, that's a bit, you just broke some people's hearts. But then again, let's also look at it from this aspect. I was doing a little research yesterday, and I was able to reach out to a few persons who actually have their money in this. What people don't know is CBEX is actually an app, okay? It is being run by a platform called ST. And what ST does is they help you in trading. So if you put your money, they take 1% of your money. This is how it works. They trade with that 1%. When you make profits, it's being put back, but they don't touch the other percentage of your money. Now, ST, as they call themselves, ST team, they do have channels everywhere. I mean, there are footages online that I was able to get from some persons while trying to carry out this investigative journalism, and I saw some of the footage. You could see there, what you see there, certificate of registration, all right?
Wow.
There are statements that this ST team, can you see, they also have approvals from the state government and the likes. They have buildings. They also have, they were about to launch the Abuja building as well. Now, what hurts me or pains me the most is that the Security Exchange Commission had come out to say that they are not registered, okay? But we've seen events where Security Exchange Commission personnel were present. So how do we juxtapose, how do we balance this? Are we going to say that every company that comes into the country and promises you wealth and money, the government is turning a blind eye towards it, or the government is not saying anything? There you have it. That's the Telegram group. They have ST Customer Support, ST Team VP Service, ST Group, and this is where they were explaining to everyone that they hope they've heard everything that's happening in the social media. They shouldn't be afraid. Their bodies will be given back to them, that the EFCC will not just talk without action, that they're very certain that everything will work out well. And you start to wonder, how long? Now, I also got a whirlwind of information that Olive, Benga, and to our viewers, as this is happening, they've created another channel, another group.
What?
What they are telling people is exclusive, put more money, and guess what? Nigerians are still putting money there.
Oh my God.
They are still going, they are saying, hey, don't worry about what is going on. This is a fresh group, this one we're going. And Nigerians are still going there to put money. So you ask yourself, it is a poverty mentality. It goes beyond just saying, oh, you always want to get what you have not worked hard for. And that's why, whether I would like it or not, I'm not against I mean, it's your choice if you want to get into betting and all that. But that is why, if you look at the research, countries that are struggling economically, that is where betting companies thrive. But let's leave that aside.
Yeah, because there's a level of desperation.
It's a remedy to, just to quell your pain and your hardship. It gives you.
But at least you're guaranteed.
Exactly.
I mean, you will watch the game and you will know that Arsenal beat
Real Madrid.
But this one,
you don't know.
How can you say something is an AI accident? Can AI have accident?
So the ST team are the ones who handle the AI platform where they invest for you. And all of a sudden, they said some people were about to cash out, and then the SEC, the Security Exchange Commission, comes out and says, oh, your certificate has not been approved, and so on, is no longer approved. And therefore, they now send a message, oh, we're having challenges with this. Therefore, people could no longer withdraw their money in 5 days. They were struggling. But it's somehow rumored that 5 days, the monies were, leaving the country and so on. So I think the FCC needs to not just touchlight this challenge on the ST team,
check the
and
Security
CBEX,
and Exchange Commission,
check
everybody.
our own organizations. The Security Exchange Commission, they have been fingered because they've been seen attending events too, according to some members who are there, who are crying foul. They've organized events across Nigeria in some parts. They were about to launch an office in Abuja. Are you telling me that they didn't get permits for all of these things? We did see certificates in the office. Why is it that
they had to wait for this to happen?
Exactly. So there's a lot we hope the FCC will look into, and if we need to call names, let's name names and let fingers be pointed. I mean, some of them are allegedly mentioned, but then again, let's do a thorough investigation, a thorough job, especially to help people understand that even if you will not get your money, like
moral of the story, if anybody is promising you 100% ROI, then it's most likely going to be a Ponzi scheme.
Again, it's just to remind our viewers, we're going to use this opportunity to sort of enlighten people that when it comes to basically investment, if it is too good to be true, it most likely is too good to be true. Nothing is as it seems. There are procedures and processes for investing, and when you're not sure, speak to an expert. Nothing like overnight success. Nothing like, oh, I'll put in 500K and get 1 million the next month. It doesn't work anywhere, all right? But our hearts go out to the people who've lost money, and we hope that this will serve as a lesson to, or as a teachable moment, so that we're not going down this rabbit hole again, even though unfortunately we still might go down this rabbit.
I mean, Joe said some people are already inside the rabbit hole.
Inside the rabbit hole.
Digging themselves deeper.
Came out
and paying more money.
Don't mind them, you can still come, and people are rushing there.
That is human nature.
It's crazy. I think it goes beyond orientation.
I'm hoping that at least there's this, something that the people who've lost money in there, the few of them who are Arsenal fans can think about the win yesterday and find some consolation. Hala Madrid has become Haba Madrid.
Very great performance, by the way.
Well, shout out to the likes of Udoka and,
all our Arsenal fans.
Until PSG breaks their heart.
Yeah.
In Paris.
You never can. See, we did not know that they would do this. We didn't know they would do this good.
The president should be back by
we'll be back.
Well, he might extend
He might decide to extend it, so he can show support to our Arsenal boys.
To the Nigerians, they want Umuahia and Saka.
Has the president spoken to Nigerians since then?
He's on the walk.
It's called walk.
No, he's been releasing statements.
No, there have been statements, of course.
What is the SSA? We've not seen him.
Well, it would be nice if the president watches the Arsenal PSG game, because Saka will be playing. Saka is Nigeria. Saka
to show solidarity.
Tinubu. Saka Tinubu. Let's move on.
Oh my! Sorry.
It's okay, come back. Let's finish the story. That was good.
Let's break the headlines.
That was good.
I'm
not talking about Obasa.
No. Top stories, please. Obasa's story. Let's move it.
No, I want Olive to talk about it for a reason. Because you who laughs last
laughs best.
The return of
the return of Obasa. So, a number of you remember the drama that happened with the Lagos State House of Assembly, and to see that Obasa was ousted whilst he was on holiday, came back, they had replaced him with Mojisola Beranda. He went to court. The court then said, your ousting or your removal was illegal. So the court has given judgment in favor of Obasa. Obasa has been vindicated, and all the people who were in favor of Obasa, I'm sure that this is a celebratory moment.
We need to understand what grounds the court gave this judgment, because it might serve as precedent. Does it mean if you have the correct numbers, you can't be removed as speaker? There are serious issues that needs to be unpacked from this judgment.
Well, speaking about what the issues, he said that the court said that the session was invalid, I believe. Yes, in the judgment delivered on Wednesday, Justice Yetunde Pinheiro nullified the House's proceedings and resolutions of January that led to Obasa's ouster. His counsel had maintained that the session was invalid, and the suit was based on 9 grounds. In fact, maybe we'll go into the details at some point during the show to share, but I'm sure that is a moment of celebration for him, even though technically he had been reinstated, but it seems that he was very keen on having the support of the courts. Politics is a very interesting game. Congratulations to Obasa, and we'll bring more updates regarding this story as we proceed, and to see how very excited the Lagos State House of Assembly is. I wonder the people that were crying when Mojisola
So
was...
what were they crying for?
Exactly.
I don't understand. No, like I wonder how they feel now, knowing that, man, this was a heartbreaking thing. No.
And have you noticed that there seems to be quiet all of a sudden?
There's total quietness, but we don't need them to be quiet.
Okay.
There are issues in Lagos that need serious
too many other
attention,
issues.
so they
Let's
should.
go, but I think we need to remind those in charge of Nigeria's running the state, which is Lagos State. We're talking about the National Assembly, the Lagos State
House of
Assembly. You know, Lagos is dark. My colleague here, Benga,
Very
done
dark.
a fantastic research and package on that. Lagos needs lighting. It's dark. Number two, Lagos is still smelling. It is still smelling. We need to handle it very quickly.
And then the state of major roads.
I'm
in
not with
Lagos,
you.
quite a number of roads, especially
but serious.
at the inner streets.
Serious.
Yeah, but it's true.
It's true. And number three, have you seen the street urchins? How they've increased in number? I'm not even talking about the area boys. I'm talking about the
Anger
would I say
zones
the destitutes, or what would I call them? Those who are roaming around. There are so many. In short, I was driving. I was going to share this on Wake Up. I was driving on Friday, and these boys who have now turned out to be like 100 in numbers.
A mob.
On the Lekki Express Road. They came to my car, and they just spilled the dirty water.
For those squeegee boys.
And one hit my car, and they were laughing, and they were looking at me, and they like indirectly, like,
If you
do your
mistakenly
worst.
come out of that car, we are supposed to know.
It started.
Yeah, and I've
people have
always
complained
talked
about that.
I've complained, especially by that
Ikate, yes.
junction, the church.
Freedom Way,
Yes.
Ikete Junction. Okay.
There's a lot to be done.
In
We have a
Lagos.
lot.
And we know that
And then child protection services, there are children that are used for commercial purposes as beggars, as props.
if you bring it up,
So
then they will bring
people-
up the argument about Al-Majuri and
This
that
is,
being
I
their
mean,
custom.
a trailer could break, could fail, God forbid. How do you put minors on the highway to beg? I mean, any responsible, we can't just, I never understand how we just drive by, how
There's fear of
we've
flooding,
normalized
Benga.
this.
Small rain this morning. Small rain.
It was getting to
Go
our
and
knees.
check
though.
the island.
It was getting to our knees. The water, the flood was terrible.
We had said it here on the program, if you recall, just 2 months ago, that the gutters are full.
Wasn't up to 2 months. Though.
No, just last month or so. The gutters are filled up with dirt. Guess what? Just last week, in some parts of Lagos, they were removing the dirt from the gutters. Did they take them away? Guess
No,
what?
they leave it there.
No, they left it there.
I mean, these are the things the
these are-
State House of
these are things
Assembly
we can
should
look at.
bring up as point of order
All right.
and put the executive
And I'm
on
glad
government
that you both have brought it up because I believe that
on their toes. Yeah.
we have brought these things to their notice. If there's any good part from here, remember the one thing that they said when they were talking about sort of trying to deal with the issues in the House was that they were trying to ensure that their house didn't end up like Rivers State. And at the end of the day, if we're looking at it, it's not as chaotic as Rivers State is right now. Rivers State doesn't have a house at the moment. So that's part of their argument. So there's some
And by the way,
calm.
the Rivers State Solar Administrator has been summoned by the reps.
The
Someone-
summoner.
Yes. The person who summoned someone. We didn't even talk about that. That's like one of the biggest stories. I mean,
No, well, we will
he
talk
came
about
out-
that.
Yeah, I mean, we will later. But he came out to say he's not the one who summoned though. So who signed
Who wrote that letter?
Who
Professor.
signed it?
Who ordered the professor?
You see, this is why Sultan says social media is a terrorist organization.
Aha.
Yeah, but they could still do
they-
it and deny it.
That's people saying
Yeah.
are saying that maybe he's trying to fill the
Oh,
balls.
yes, and he
then
has
he
seen
saw
the
the reaction,
backlash.
and now
So
the
he
rep
denied
said,
it.
"Come, Oga, it's like you're having too much power."
But you guys,
in short, comfort.
you know, heaven is the goal. So on Judgment Day, we'll know who's telling the truth.
It's too foul. Okay, away from all the conversations we've had this morning or wake-up conversation, let's now get into the stories proper that we're going to be discussing. So take a look at our top stories. Reps summon Rivers State sole administrator. We'll be talking about this. And the EFCC Interpol launched CBEX fraud investigation. We'll be bringing you update about this. And we did start our conversation with it. Itsekiri stakeholders react to proposed ward delineation. And Northern traditional leaders meet to tackle insecurity. This has been a major conversation in the past weeks. The newspaper front pages we review every morning, like we do here on Breakfast Central, so join us for all these and more.
Thanks for staying with us here on Breakfast Central. Northern Nigeria's traditional leaders have called for the institutionalization of community-based security systems and the integration of modern technology to combat growing insecurity in the region. Speaking at the 7th Executive Committee meeting of the Northern Traditional Rulers Council in Maiduguri, the Sultan of Sokoto, His Eminence Muhammadu Sahed Abubakar III, the Shehu of Borno, emphasized the urgent need for local solutions backed by digital innovation. News Central's Umaru Kirawa completes the report.
From the seat of the Caliphate, Sokoto, to Zamfara and Katsina, stretching to Jos and Borno State, one major concern now in northern Nigeria is the killings across the length and breadth of the region. Traditional leaders of the northern region converged in Maiduguri to brainstorm, cross-fertilize ideas, and identify solutions.
If we want to resolve the problems in the north as leaders, we can do so. How? We sit together and discuss and take issues up one by one and say, this is what we are going to do. From the governors to the traditional institutions to the ulama to the common man on the street, what he should do to help the security agencies, the governorship, the political leadership, and us to bring to the BRS medium these killings.
The Nigerian governors will work with the National Assembly to ensure that the role of the traditional rulers is captured in the Nigerian Constitution. I want to assure you that Borno, under my leadership, will inshallah ensure the insurgency ends before I leave office.
The meeting themed enhanced security for stability and development in the north, so traditional leaders discussed the role of traditional institutions in fostering peace, particularly amidst insurgency, banditry, and farmer-herder conflicts.
Traditional rulers from the level of Mianwa, Arbo, Dakachi, Hakimi, etc. must know your citizens. So KYC is know your citizens. That is my appeal to traditional rulers.
It is therefore essential that we continue to build on these successes while remaining vigilant against forces that threaten our collective peace.
All hands must be on deck to bring out solutions to these problems. And whenever we bring such solutions to the political leaders, let them know we're only helping them. We are not, we will never be in contention with the political leadership of the various governors and whatever.
The traditional leaders also called for a bill on the reinstatement of the roles of the traditional leaders to be enshrined in the Constitution of Nigeria, as well as bill of the National Council of Traditional Leaders of Nigeria also formed part of their deliberations. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Thank you, Umaru Kirawa. We certainly will be bringing more updates in that regard and looking forward to having more meetings that would yield profitable outcome for the safety and the security of the northern Nigerians. Now moving on, the Commissioner of Police in Delta State, Olufemi Abaniwonda, has again reiterated the command's determination to make the state hot for criminals by continuous proactive and intelligence-driven policing. Abaniwonda disclosed this at the 2025 first quarterly media briefing held at the State Police Command in Asaba, Delta State capital. The Commissioner of Police says the command recorded immense success in the fight against crime and criminality, which has given rise to the massive recovery of sophisticated firearms, stolen vehicles, hard drugs, and the arrest of suspects.
Arrested over 67 suspects involved in various crimes, which includes 35 suspected armed robbers, 24 suspected kidnappers, 5 murder suspects, 22 suspected cultists, 4 suspects arrested for rape and defilement offenses, and a total number of 13 kidnapped victims were rescued. A total number of 53 firearms, which includes 11 AK-47 rifles, 9 Beretta pistols, 19 single-barrel locally made quarter-size guns, and 13 pump-action guns were recovered. Lastly, a total of 5,612 rounds of ammunition cartridges were also recovered within the period under review.
Very interesting conversation there. We're starting to see a lot of working from the Nigerian police force, especially I must mention, guys, Delta State. There's this thing they do they give you like every week-on-week report in Delta State. You do have the police officers, the ones in charge of the press, where they go on X, they do the video, they express, they tell you what's happening in Delta, they give you updates and so on, which is very good.
What's the name of the PPR? Is that
I'm trying to remember that his name. I was looking for it, but I know I've stumbled. Sorry?
Jaffe or something.
Yes, I think so. But I know I've stumbled on his page many times. I just, watch a little.
Very proactive, and it keeps the citizens informed, and they also have a sense of security that, look, these guys are working, they are giving us regular updates, they're dealing with the bad boys, and it also sends a message to those criminal elements that, look, there's a no crime policy in this state.
Absolutely.
And it makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, today at 10 a.m., the elected governor of Rivers State, Governor Siminalayi Fubara, wants to, report to the sole administrator and to, in short, also explain to him.
I remember, sorry, I just wanted to double check, so I don't call your name, I'm not sure. Edafe Bright.
Edafe Bright. Thank you so much for bringing that up, and so on. So, like I was saying, today at 10 a.m., the duly elected governor of Rivers State was supposed to report to the sole administrator.
According to the letter.
According to a letter and so on. But I mean, all of you, I know you do have the information.
All right, let's take our focus for this morning's conversation to a developing story that has captured national attention. The House of Representatives summoning the sole administrator of Rivers State, Vice Admiral Ibok-Ete Ibas, for an interactive session. This comes amidst the ongoing emergency rule in the oil-rich state. The House of Representatives Ad-Hoc Committee on Rivers State Oversight has officially summoned him to appear before it at the National Assembly Complex in Abuja. The session aims to shed light on the state of affairs in Rivers since his appointment as sole administrator. Joining us for this conversation is Kingdom Okiri, convener, Lawyers in Defense of Democracy. Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us, Kingdom.
Good morning, New Central, good morning, Nigeria.
All right, good morning. Can you speak to us about the authenticity or otherwise of the letter that we saw summoning the Rivers State governor to a meeting with the sole administrator?
The elected governor being summoned by the sole administrator.
Yes.
That's the height of impunity, the height of illegality. That's the height of the absurdity. The Tinubu government, has thrown us into a state of lawlessness, It has taken us back to the dark days of Abacha era, when, institutions of government, we are subject to military dictatorship. The sole administrator, whatever he's doing, remains illegal and will be illegal until a court of competent jurisdiction will have the courage to declare all what has been done in Rivers State as illegal. And that is no other court than the Supreme Court. We are hoping that the matter will gradually snowball, from the Federal High Court to the Supreme Court. Or we are also hopeful that the suit by the PDP governors, will be quickly decided upon by a supposedly courageous Supreme Court, that will declare absurdity, illegality.
Okay, I think what I wanted...
You can't put something on nothing and expect it to stand.
Yeah, I just wanted a bit of clarity.
Someone in a democratically elected governor of Rivers State because of the aberration committed by the president under section, hiding under section 305 of the Constitution to suspend democratically elected institutions,
So I just wanted to, Kingdom, if you can hear me. Kingdom, if you can hear me, I just wanted to clarify about the authenticity of it because, it was a conversation yesterday. Many were of the opinion that the sole administrator cannot summon the governor. However, there's been reports from the Permanent Secretary Special Services Bureau of the Office of the SSG, that's Dede Samson Friday. He's debunked the reports claiming that the Rivers State sole administrator summoned the governor, saying that it's not true and that the Rivers State government has a way of disseminating information through verifiable sources such as their official channels, and that it's not true, and it's a fraudulent information. It's wrong. So I wanted to ask if you knew about that, the authenticity of it. There are those who are saying it might be an opportunity. Maybe they just try to test the waters, seeing the backlash. They're now recanting on it. There are others who say it might really just have been a forged document that was put out there.
like you said, I also hope, also know that majority of Nigerians will hope that it should be a fake news, because the military administrator, let's stop calling him sole administrator. We should be calling him what he is. He's a military administrator, even if he was a retired military, chief. He should know, the limits of his power. He should know, have been issued that he can't summon a democratically elected governor to come and answer to his illegality. Answer to who? The man is sitting on illegality. You can't put something on nothing and expect it to stand. What we are saying is that the military administrator that have taken over the governance of Rivers State is illegal ab initio. So he shouldn't even think of summoning a democratically elected governor to come and answer to him. The governor is only answerable to the State House of Assembly that are duly elected by the people of Rivers State. So that even should, I believe and I should hope that it's a fake news. So the military administrator should know the limit, of his illegality, because already he's sitting on an illegal, authority. So he doesn't have such authorities, to exercise. Well, as for the National Assembly, the House of Representatives summoning him to come and give account on what he has done so far as the military or sole administrator, whichever you choose to call him. Of course, that is within the ambits of what the Constitution stipulates. The Constitution, stipulates that whenever the House of Assembly is not able to function in any state, the National Assembly will take over the functions of that State House of Assembly. And acting on that constitutional provision, the Speaker has constituted an Ad-Hoc Committee, to oversight, the activities of the military administrator in Rivers State. So the committee summoning him to come and give account of some of the actions he has taken, is correct, is within the ambits of the Constitution, because the National Assembly, as it stands, is the House of Assembly of Rivers State until the House of Assembly, until the full democratic institutions in Rivers State, are restored. And that is also as a result of the outcry. That is why we commend the media, that has given some of us activists and pro-democracy lawyers, the opportunity to speak out against the declaration of the state of emergency. Because I can remember, as soon as that state of emergency declared, there was an outcry all over the media, and it was based on the public outcry, that the emergency, as was initially declared by the president, was amended. You should remember that what the president declared was that the military administration should be answerable to the executive arm of government, until when we now raise alarm that is not even what the law said. Whenever there is no House of Assembly, it is the National Assembly that the military administrator should be answerable.
Okay.
That's exactly happened.
Mr. Kingdom Okere.
The two chambers of the National Assembly were...
Mr. Kingdom Okere, if I may come in here, please, sir. I would like to appeal to you for the sake of this programming and the sake of our democracy. Let's refer to the sole administrator in his official capacity as sole administrator. Nigeria is a democracy. We've been a democracy since 1999, and we shouldn't send out that sort of message. It might be misconstrued. So thank you so much for obliging us. Now, I want to follow up on my statement. Mr. Okere, tomorrow will make it 1 month. Yes. Exactly 1 month since the sole administrator was appointed to look over the affairs of Rivers State. What's your assessment of his 1 month so far? Has he acted right? Is he fulfilling his mandate to bring about peace to the warring parties in Rivers State?
No, he hasn't disappointed us. He has proved us right. That he was just imposed, by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, acting on the script written by the so-called godfather of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike. He has proved us right. He hasn't disappointed us, by purportedly dismantling democratically institutions of government of Rivers State, appointing administrators for the local government, from the judgment of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, upon the judgment of the Supreme Court of Nigeria that nullified that local government election, the administration of the Rivers State, of the entire local government in Rivers State, should remain under the civil service, that is the Director of Administration, the DAX of the local government, until a new election is conducted, as the Supreme Court, has ordered. So he lacks the power to start appointing pro-Wike supporters as administrators in the various local government, and they have now gone to, hijack all the directors of administrators that are civil servants, who should, actually be in charge of the various local government until newly democratically elected chairman, coming. They have now gone to hijack them to change signatories of the various local government accounts of Rivers State people. So the state administrator acting on illegality has not proved us wrong, that he is acting on the script written by Wike as approved by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and he has now appointed Wike studios to go back and take over the administration of the various local governments in Rivers State. That is what he has done. He's acting on illegality, he's sitting on illegality and perpetuating illegality. And we are saying that this country, this our constitutional democracy must be sustained. We will continue to speak against illegality, we will continue to speak against absurdity, we will continue to advocate that things should be done correctly within the ambits of the law as stipulated by the Constitution. So he hasn't disappointed us. I'm pretty sure we knew that something is fishing somewhere. This must be a script written by Wike and as approved by the president, and that's exactly what the sole administrator is doing. He hasn't disappointed us. He's acting on illegality, he's perpetuating illegality, and we're saying that we'll continue to condemn illegality, we'll continue to condemn absurdity, we'll continue to advocate and agitate that the right thing should be done in Rivers State. You cannot replace a democratically elected governor of the people, democratically elected institution of the people, with a military or sole administrator or under whatever nomenclature you choose to call him. So we are saying that within the 1 month, he has acted on illegality, he has acted, he has proved us right. All what he has done remain illegal, remain unlawful, remain condemnable, and we are saying that democratically elected institutions, we are just waiting for the president, we are waiting for the 6 months to elapse.
All right, Mr. Okere.
The president will declare again. But after the 6 months...
Mr. Okere, sorry to butt in, but yes, I think we've got to your point. Like you said, we'd just like to stick with the fact that he's a sole administrator, because that's the capacity in which he's actually acting. But I don't know if you're aware of the Nigerian Bar Association, the body of chairman in Rivers State, the press release that they put out. I'll try to see if I can get that up on the screen. In that press release, they did, of course, just like you've said, they've condemned the fact that there is an introduction of the sole administrator, whom they feel, of course, is acting way beyond his capacity. But I want to bring your thoughts to the fore of the public. Let people know what you personally think about the 300 million naira that has been asked to be returned to Rivers State coffers by the sole administrator. I mean, you're also a learned colleague, and I'm sure that you have your thoughts on that. Looking at the fact that they have, in clear terms, disagreed, and they do not in any way support what is currently happening in Rivers State. What's your take on the 300 million naira? I mean, since they disagreed, shouldn't they return the money?
Well, let me first of all commend the NBA president, for standing on the path of justice, on the path of rule of law. The slogan of NBA is upholding the rule of law, promoting the rule of law. I want to sincerely commend him, for siding on the path of the truth, by condemning, the absurdity, the illegality, the aberration, the constitutional aberration, that took place in Rivers State. The NBA president, Maza Famosibe, issued a strong statement, where he analyzed the entire constitutional provisions and concluded by letting the world know that what the president have done in Rivers State is a constitutional aberration and unconstitutional and illegality. So the sole administrator is aggrieved that the body of lawyers in Nigeria, wouldn't stand on his side. I don't even know why he should be thinking that the whole Nigerian Bar Association should support illegality that impose him as a sole administrator as against the democratically elected institutions of the people of Rivers State. I don't know why he should be thinking towards that direction. But for whatever reason, I commend the NBA president. I also know from what I've heard about the 300 million naira saga is that it was just a promise, a gift given, promised by the former governor in support of NBA conferences. And of course, of recent, because of insecurity in Nigeria, NBA conferences have been limited to Abuja, Lagos, and Rivers State, for almost 10 years now, since the APC administration came in, since 2015, when Buhari came in, and to date, NBA conferences have been limited to Abuja, Lagos, and Rivers State. So for whatever reason, the money was given to support NBA conference. It is not given as a hosting right. From the information I got, from the NBA secretariat, it is not a hosting right. That means you will be touching NBA that NBA sells out their hosting right, 300 million as hosting right. No, several other governors too, or several other philanthropists or businessmen, could as well have supported the 2015 NBA conference, So if the former governor had promised, to support the 2025 NBA conference with 300 million naira, and the illegally appointed sole administrator now came and released the money, and now wants to use the money to lure NBA to come and host conference in Rivers State that does not have, that is having an illegal government. Why would you want NBA to support that kind of illegality?
Okay.
So he's now wanting to be in the public, by way of absurdity. He's now wanting to ridicule the NBA because the NBA condemned his unconstitutional appointment. The man, ab initio, is appointed, and his appointment is an absurdity, and what he's doing is a show of shame and a show of absurdity. He just
Kingdom,
character of what he has come.
All right, Kingdom, if I may interject at this point,
ab initio, his appointment.
We're trying to. Yes, we get that. We're trying to make the best of the time that we have as we're about to come to the end of this interview. You were speaking earlier and talking about how the sole administrator, you're waiting for the 6 months to end for the president to reinstate the governor. I wanted to ask, what happens, or what are your expectations for what happens next after these 6 months? And there are people who say that they do not see the governor coming back or being reinstated into his office.
Let us see now whether President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is greater than the constitution that he swore to uphold. Let us see whether there is a country called Nigeria. There is a country called Nigeria that operates a 1999 constitution. It is the 1999 constitution that has created all the institutions of government, including Inec, that fraudulently announced the president as the winner of the election, upon which he was sworn in. It is the same constitution that established the court, that the president said, go to court, I have been declared. And they went to court, and the court did the abracadabra and upheld this election. So let us now see whether President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is is above the 1999 constitution of Nigeria. Let us see the next absurdity, the next illegality that they will act upon the expiration of the 6 months state of emergency that has been declared. If they want to bury democracy in Nigeria, maybe beginning with Rivers State, let us see. We are waiting to see exactly what will happen at the end of 6 months, because pro-wicked lawmakers and the pro-wicked politicians in Rivers State are going about bragging that Fubara will never come back. Let us see exactly what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, a man who we thought was a true Democrat, who fought for democracy, who has been on the side of the people from the period of Nadeko, from when he became governor of Lagos State, who fought to ensure that democratic institutions are sustained under the presidency of Olusegun Obasanjo. Let us see how he has now, as the president of Nigeria, now want to turn the entire institutions of democracy upside down. Let us see, after the expiration of the 6 months, whether or not we want to bury democracy in Rivers State and by extension, bury democracy in Nigeria. And we are hoping that whatever be, that the Supreme Court of Nigeria should be truly independent to speedily and independently, I'm emphasizing whether or not the Chief Justice of Nigeria is hearing this, or I want to challenge the Chief Justice of Nigeria, who has been seen, to be acting, on the side of the government of today, to truly and independently and speedily determine the case instituted by the PDP governors, that will end this quagmire in Rivers State. That matter, as instituted by PDP governors, will truly end the quagmire.
All right, Mr. Okere, thank you so much for your time, although we cannot confirm if the Chief Justice of Nigeria is acting on the side of the president, like you've said. But then again, we want to thank you so much for your time, Mr. Kingdom Okere, convener, Lawyers in Defense of Democracy. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Your medium is doing very well. You are informing Nigerians. I appreciate the time.
Thank you. All right. Let's quickly look at what we've brought to you so far this hour here on Breakfast Central. And let's take a look at what we've done so far. So far, so good. This hour, we've talked about the Rivers Sole Administrator as he denies summoning Governor Siminalayi Fubara of Rivers State. Also, in turn, Reps summons Rivers State Sole Administrator, tell him to come forth, let's talk, and let's learn some more. Northern traditional leaders meet to tackle insecurity. You did see that report as well here during the first hour. But let's quickly let you in on what would be coming up next here on News Central's Breakfast Central.
Coming up next on Breakfast Central, EFCC Interpol launched CBEX fraud investigation. Itsekiri stakeholders react to proposed ward delineation. An Abia government promises new Umuahia City project. So stay with us. Breakfast Central continues shortly.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Now, let's turn our focus to a contentious issue stirring political waters in Delta State. The reactions of Itsekiri stakeholders to the proposed ward delineation in the Warri Federal Constituency is the core of our conversation. The Independent National Electoral Commission, Inec, recently unveiled its proposed ward delineation for the Warri Federal Constituency following a Supreme Court directive. Inec maintains that the delineation process was conducted transparently and in line with the Supreme Court's judgment. The Commission asserts that it engaged stakeholders from all ethnic groups in the constituency during the process. However, the Itsekiri leaders, of course, have rejected the proposal, citing concerns over fairness and representation. We're joined this morning by Honorable Umuahia Capital, the immediate past Speaker of the Legislative Arm of Warri Southwest Local Government, as well as Bubemi Awala, Chairman Itsekiri Interest Group and a notable Itsekiri youth leader. Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome to the show.
Gentlemen, welcome to Breakfast Central.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much. So, Honorable Capital, I want you to sort of set a background as to why this conversation is happening. Why is there a disagreement about, the legality or the process of the delineation?
Okay, thank you very much. The pocket of disagreement here between the Itsekiris and especially Inec is that, of course, there was a judgment from the Supreme Court ordering a fresh delineation in the Warri Federal Constituency. Our concern became utmost because we have 2 years to the national delineation. So why doing it now? We put up arguments and all that, but the Itsekiri being peaceful and law-abiding people, we said no problem. But we also looked a way around. We went to court, also Federal High Court in Abuja, which of course I'm one of the claimants, And there was a restraint on Inec not to do it until the litigation is over. They even deposed to an affidavit to stalemate the exercise pending the outcome of the litigation. And in a no distance time, we got an information that Inec had conducted the delineation and they are calling for a meeting. we didn't want to attend. Some of our people, the FOCA committee didn't want to attend, but some persons suggested that, okay, they should just attend. Let's know what the outcome of the meeting would be. Upon the arrival and departure, they came out with draft from Inec that they had conducted the delineation.
They had conducted?
Yes, that they had conducted the delineation. You know, it's poor protests and all that. We were so furious. We were so, no, need I call a spade and not some agricultural
against the judgment of the High Court?
Yes, against the judgment of the High Court that they swore not to conduct the delineation pending the outcome of the litigation. You know, so that was what spurred our anger, you know, in conjunction with what we saw as proposed drafts for Warri Federal Constituency. You know, it's amazing to note that the chairperson of the committee who perpetrated this fraudulent act to have influenced Inec in doing all of this is an Ijaw woman from Abia State, Professor Rhoda Agomoh. You know, it was then we started, you know, getting to cross the T's and dot the I's of what could have led to them doing this thing unknowingly to the Itsekiri people.
What's in it for Professor Agomoh that you've alleged is behind this influencing Inec to carry out this thing?
Yes, she's an Ijaw woman from Abia State. She's a professor in the Niger Delta University, and she's a member of the General Leaders of Thought.
So why is she doing it? To what end?
Yes, to disenfranchise the Itsekiris. Now, okay, let me add something to it. The Ijaws, over time, we have lived as brothers in two local governments that we have, Warri North and Warri Southwest, where we both live, you know. But they have been crying foul. At the time, they started making pleas that we have been here for a long time. They want representation, you know, which of course the Itsekiri elites, the Itsekiri leaders, in their benevolence, gave them the opportunity. As we speak, the Speaker of Delta State House of Assembly is there because of the benevolence of our Itsekiri elites to represent that local government in the State House of Assembly. You know, so that's why it amazes and hurts us so much that I haven't done all of this. Why should they have collaborated with Inec to want to disenfranchise, to marginalize Itsekiris, the majority constituents of Warri South, Warri North, and Warri Southwest?
Okay, we'll come back to talk about, you know, this divide, but let's bring in Mr. Wala to talk about, we have reports that there was a Supreme Court verdict in 2003, I believe, in favor of the Itsekiri people. So walk us through why that was never implemented and, you know, why we've then gone through this hasty application, even though there was allegedly, like you've mentioned, the Supreme Court, High Court injunction restraining Inec from going ahead.
Yeah, it was actually a Federal Court.
Okay.
Verdict. It started in 1997. The case started in 1997. The Constitution gives opportunity for delineation uniformly, not only in isolation. Yeah. And it was meant to cover the new local government, because Warri South and Warri North local governments were products of Warri local government. In 1991, when Delta State was created, and when the Warri local government was split into Warri South and Warri North, there was a ward delineation, and this was conducted by NECON, the body before Inec. This was what transformed it to Inec. And in 1997, they did a delineation that was premature. Delineation was supposed to be done every 10 years. So if you are doing a delineation in 1997, before then, it is expected that you are not doing it in compliance with the law. Now, the issue was that Itsekiris went to court, not because it was premature, because the gerrymandering and the inconsistency in the process, it was not accepted by the Itsekiris. And the local government chairman, as at that time, Dr. Otumara, his vice chairman, Bubemi Ikolo, she's now Ikolo, she was then Kwenduse, and 8 other councillors went to court, and they got an interlocutory injunction stopping Inec, which was NECON at that time, from going ahead with the illegal ward structure. What we had as a 1997 was 10 ward structure in Warri South. Mind you, in 1996, the Warri Southwest local government was just created. So all the wards that were in the present day Warri Southwest were gotten only from Warri North local government. Now, moving forward, we saw that in 1999, because of this injunction, since we were still NECON, we had the opportunity to field 4 House of Assembly members, 1 for Warri South Constituency 1 and 2, Warri North and Warri Southwest. And the Shekiris at that time were privileged to even have the first speaker in 1999 dispensation, which was Honorable Megbele. He died on the seat, and he was replaced with another Shekiri man, Honorable JFK, Jackson Omashone. So where I'm going with this is that as at 1999, this is the magic of Inec. As at 1999, the court tranquility injunction was still ongoing, and up till 2003, before the Federal High Court by Justice Alta gave a judgment in favor of the Shekiris that the 12-ward structure was illegal. Because what these people did was, there were 8 wards for the Shekiris. So what they did was to merge the Shekiri wards and reduce them to 6, and split the 2 robo wards in Warri South and increased it to 6. So with the judgment, the court agreed with our plea that it was premature and Shekiris needed to, and INEC needed to respect the 10-ward structure. Now, you will be surprised that in 2003, when this judgment came out, INEC should obey. What INEC did, they now went back to the illegal ward structure, which was supposed to be against what the court prescribed. Now, in 2004, the INEC headquarters in Abuja sent a memo to INEC headquarters in Delta State to obey the court judgment. They ignored it, and instead they went to Court of Appeal. There was no stay of injunction to at least say, okay, the illegality that has gone on, they want to maintain it. And this lasted in the Court of Appeal for 15 years, up to 2018. 2018, the process was struck out, and they were asked to go back to 10-ward structure again. Now, the Shekiris had an opportunity now to enforce it, so contempt of court process started. When the contempt process started, INEC had the opportunity to implement it, but what they did, they asked for a withdrawal of the process, that they are going to implement it this time, and they signed an MOU between the Shekiri Youth Council, the judgment creditor, the Commissioner of Police, and INEC themselves. After this was done, 2019 election, they said because of the short time, they needed more time to prepare for the new ward structure, since they were still using the legal 12-ward structure. Mind you, from 2003, 2007, 2011, 2015, they were fielding illegal ward structure, and were having House of Assembly members that were in this illegal ward structure. Even up to today, they are still there. So this was what Shekiris have been experiencing till now. Now, fast forward to the Supreme Court judgment. The Supreme Court judgment was for future election, not for now. This ward structure that it was illegally done was for present day dispensation. So you cannot have people sitting in the House of Assembly receiving salary and representing illegal ward structure. Meanwhile, INEC is saying they are doing a fresh delineation ahead of future election, when there is present illegality going on now.
Now, Honorable Emiko, our correspondent was there when the protest broke out against this delineation exercise. I believe some of your community members had put forward their grounds and grievances towards INEC. Has there been any official response from them? And what's the what's the position of what's the way forward from your own end?
Okay, to answer you straight, INEC had not responded. The only response was the publication announcing to Nigerians that it is a draft proposition, that we should note our observations, which of course we're here noting our observations too, to Nigerians. You see, what was done, my brother, is what I describe as Indian magic. I'm sure growing up, I used to hear Indian magic tale, you know, where one of the scenarios was when Nigeria and India, you know, had a match. Within 90 minutes of play, they gave Nigeria 101. That's exactly what was perpetrated by INEC, led by Professor Roda. And up to now, like, to answer you straight, we have not heard anything from INEC. And need I make Nigerians know? INEC said it's a draft proposition. Meanwhile, we have footage of some persons that went to INEC after the Itsekiri protest at INEC office. They went, Ijaw people went there to say, INEC, stand by what you have done. These people said it's a draft. Some people are reminding them to stand upon what they have done. I think this is very suggestive. Nigeria should take notice of this particular these two statements. Stand by what you have done. So only God knows what their treaty's backdoor is.
So what are the implications for Itsekiri people if this exercise carries out?
As it were, the purpose of this fraudulent exercise is to marginalize the Itsekiri people. You know, they didn't even put the historical context into the table. They disregarded it, including judgments, including the boundary adjustment issue that we have been talking about, where they didn't bring stakeholders of Itsekiri before implementing. Before doing that boundary adjustment, they didn't. And by the Commission's mandate, the testimonies of stakeholders are always required to do that kind of exercise. But the Itsekiri leaders were never put into consideration. It simply implies that they are determined to undermine us in our ancestral place.
You've had multiple court cases. You've tried to address these grievances through the court over the years, and rightly so. Are you going to keep trying until you exhaust all legal means?
Like I mentioned earlier, we are law-abiding people. We have, you know, you see why we decided to seek interpretation from the Federal High Court is because according to Section 73, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution, you cannot do Warri Federal Constituency delineation in isolation. So it's law. So we are law-abiding people. Unfortunately for us, all judgments that have been in our favor have not been implemented by INEC. This is what brings to question what's the essence of this particular day, why the rush into this particular Supreme Court exercise.
All right, let's bring in Mr. Wala into the conversation now. What would your response be to the Ijaw people, for example, who argue about population advantage?
When we are talking of population, we need to know we are not dealing with National Population Commission. I think INEC, they have successfully transferred their scope of job from elections now to census. They don't know the difference between census and election. And I would like to educate INEC again if they are forgotten. Census considers everybody, from a child to mother, adult, and everybody. But the election process and INEC considers only people above the ages of 18. So if a population of 1 million has people less than 50% of the population less than 18 years, the people less than 18 years have no use to INEC. Now, if you are going to do a ward delineation, INEC has no business using census results. And even if you are going to use census results, use the 2006 census results, because since then we have not gotten any other census. So I don't know where they are getting their figures from. Now, if you say you are going to go ahead to create wards, wards have components of units within them, and units are collection of voters in different areas where they vote. So if now INEC is going to tell us now that you are going to create ghost wards that don't have units, you are going to create units that don't have voters, I'm wondering what they are using as their benchmark. Now, let me remind us that difference between election and census is that I am considered an indigen of Warri. So during elections, I go back, even if I'm staying in Lagos, to Warri to vote. But during census, if I'm staying in Lagos, I am counted in Lagos. So residency is considered in census, while indigens are considered in elections. Now, Tinubu is the president of Nigeria, is in the villa now, but during the election, it's expected that he will vote in Lagos. So the voters register is the only record that INEC has to determine the population when they are carrying out their activities in delineation. Secondly, the units. So what I'm seeing now is that INEC is now saying even when you're even doing this, just like my brother said, the testimonies are important. And what are the testimonies? The ownership of lands are now important to INEC because they work with indigens. Let me give a very brief history. In 1981, during the era of Shehu Shagari, the Bende State House of Assembly, led by Honorable Alegbe, had the opportunity to welcome protesters of Ijaw extraction that were residents in Warri local government as at that time. Now Warri local government is now Warri Federal Constituency. The motion was moved by Honorable Oprozo. Because the Ijaws, they didn't have any representative in Warri local government, it was only Shekiris. So they had to use an Isoko man to move this motion for them.
All right, let's hold a thought on using an Isoko man to move a motion, and we'll continue from there because we need to go on a very quick break, and when we come back, conversation continues. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. If you're just joining, we're discussing a current issue with the Itsekiri and the Ijaw people, and speaking about the delineation exercise that the Itsekiri Leaders of Thought have rejected. We're joined this morning by two of our guests who have been speaking in depth to us about this. Honorable Emiko Odinetuwewe, thank you very much again for joining us. And we also have Mr. Awala Gubemi, thank you very much for joining us. Before we went on that break, you were speaking about the protesters and how they were received, and Isoko man was selected to move the motion, so please go ahead.
Yes, like I was saying, in 1981, Honorable Alegbe in the Bende State House of Assembly was the Speaker, and Honorable Pozo, who was an Isoko man, he was also the Deputy Speaker. He raised the motion on behalf of the Ijaws of Warri local government because as at that time, they didn't have any representative to raise the motion on their behalf. And what they were saying is that they wanted to create their own local government outside the Warri territory. Now, the issue that was on ground and what the Assembly told the protesters was that if you are going to move out, because since they felt they were second-class citizens in Warri local government, they shows that since our local government cannot be created for us, because the House of Assembly told them that these lands from Ogbijo, Bayamatu, Isaba, these areas, there have been litigation on them in the Supreme Court. And you have lost, you have never won in your life. So if we had a case like Apo, Besu, and cases like the Ijaws of Ogbijo taking the Shekirin Communal Land Trust to court, this started from as far back as 1928. We have another case in 1952. We have another one in 1973. Supreme Court cases only, since everybody's talking of Supreme Court cases now. You have lost. So they told the Ijaw people that if you are leaving Warri and you are looking for a local government, no problem. but you should not take an inch of Warri land. So go to Burutu to agitate for this. And when they went to Burutu, these people came back 3 years later to say that they were even treated as second-class citizens in their own area. The motions are before both the Delta State House of Assembly and Benue State House of Assembly. These are not hidden records. Now, also, when we are talking about the history of these areas, I don't want to focus only on the Ijaws. In Warri South, for example, we have had court cases whereby the Itsekiri Communal Land Trust, which was a structure that was used to represent the Olu of Warri and the overlordship of the Olu of Warri in Warri, present-day Warri Federal Constituency. The idea was that all lands under the Warri local government, now Warri Federal Constituency, belong to the Itsekiris. So any other person there are customary tenants. One interesting case that you should know is Ogege versus Dor. In this case, it happened in 1925. Even though a lot of people argue that this case, they don't believe in the judgment, but the head of the Robos went to court as at that time. His name was Shifipuri. As at that time, there was no king in Agbasa. So the Olotu was the head woman and leader of the Agbasa people. He went to court and he testified before the court that all this land belonged to the Itsekiris. Now, this is the interesting thing. If you know that all the lands in Warri Federal Constituency belong to the Itsekiri, including the areas that the Ijaws are settling as tenants, as prescribed by the Supreme Court, how are you going to name wards in this area after the Ijaw people, even when you are even naming them out of the areas that the Ijaws are settling? Right. You are now coming to the Itsekiri areas to even name and steal units to add to the units that are not even existing, wards that are not even existing before.
Quite a lot to unpack here, and thanks for the historical context. Now, before we begin to wrap up, Honorable Emiko, how is land, because I mentioned land a lot in this submission, how is land a factor in a ward delineation exercise?
Okay, land plays a very voluminous factor in determining the essence of this whole matter. We have judgments that prove ownership. Like you mentioned earlier, you cannot build something on nothing. I'll take the Warri South as a case study, where we've had 10 legal structure and 12 illegal structure. Now we have gone to court, and court have given judgment that they should revert, INEC should revert to the 10-ward structure. This is explicitly, making it known that land plays a vital role. We've got documents, and those are the historical contexts that I am referring to, that INEC and National Boundary Commission are supposed to put in place in doing whatever they are doing and whatever they intend to do further.
Okay. I want to also go back to the issue between the Ijaw and the Itsekiri people, and I want you to give a context as to if this has impacted the way that both people, relate with each other. You're living with each other now, but how has this impacted relations between the Ijaw and the Itsekiri people? I'll start with you, Mr. Wala.
Yeah. First of all, I can say the Itsekiris are one of the most peaceful and benevolent people in Nigeria. I'll go back to history. 1996, when the Warri Southwest local government was created, the gazetted headquarters was supposed to be in Ogidigbe, but the military administrators at that time announced Ogbijo, and Itsekiris went to court. And while we were in court, the popular Warri crisis started. And this issue was because of the Itsekiris were protesting that the gazetted headquarters of the local government was also being Ogidigbe and Itsekiri town. Now you are taking it to Ogbijo and Ijaw area. The Itsekiris will not accept that, so that was the reason for the crisis. Now there were panels of inquiries to make sure peace comes to stay. And even as we speak, the Itsekiris left the headquarters as, even though the federal government recognizes Ogidigbe as the headquarters, the Shekiris still left it at Ogbijo. Another interesting thing you will know is that in Warri South-West local government, Shekiris used to produce the chairman, the vice chairman, the secretary, the House of Assembly member from that local government. But for peace to reign, Shekiris started giving out the position of vice chairman. Shekiris started rotation of the seat of local government chairman. Normally, if you are looking at it, if you are going by delegate election, Shekiris have more delegates. If we have 6 wards and the Ijaws have 4 wards, it is impossible forever for the Ijaws to win any primary election. But you will keep on seeing that in the last election, 2023, Shekiris delegates supported Ijaw both in APC and in PDP. We would have supported our brothers because we had people that were fielded in those positions. But because we wanted peace to reign and we felt it is civilized for us to consider these people to get seat of power, to the extent that even though Shekiris have the least amount of years in the seat of the speaker, the 2 speakers we have had served in less than 2 years. Meanwhile, we gave the opportunity for us to have speaker now that it was zoned to Warri Federal Constituency to an Ijaw man when we knew that it was the turn of Shekiris to become speaker. So if we have seen a tribe that has benefited like this, the Warri South local government, after the crisis, there's a part they call Miller up to Main Market. These areas were industrial and commercial areas. So it is impossible for you to say during the election that you are going to even see 10% of registered voters coming from there, because the market will close during the election. So I don't even know where the units are in those places. But now Inec has created units there and named them after Ijaw areas. The surprising thing that you know is that the Miller area was part of both the MPA staff quarters and also the police barrack, marine police barrack. You will be surprised that during the crisis, a lot of Shekiris staying in those areas left their houses. And the governor of Delta State at that time, James Ibori, called a panel to make sure that anybody occupying a house that does not belong to him will be compensated and sent back to where it's coming from. The Ijaws were giving money to leave the houses that they don't own. They took the money and they remain there today. As I'm speaking to you, communities are coming out every day. You might wake up today and you see a signboard of a community that does not exist anywhere in government record, both even in population census record or Inec record. And you are surprised now that Inec are now giving these areas wards. Before I go, let me even make this clear. How do you expect a ward delineation to go on, whereby you will see that Shekiris have 14, the Ijaws have 14 wards in Warri South-West, and the Shekiris have 5 wards. Meanwhile, before it was 6-4. The Shekiris had 6 wards, and the Ijaws have 4. I would like my brother to even expatiate because this is his local government.
Right. All right.
Okay. My local government, Warri South-West, like you mentioned, we have, because Inec said that's the draft, so that the existing one stands. We have 10 wards, 6 belonging to Itsekiri, 4 belonging to the Ijaws. As we speak on that draft, the Ijaws have 14, Itsekiri is 5. From 6 to 5, they have depleted us from 6 to 5. And they have, that was the reason I said Indian magic. 4 are metamorphosed to 14. Now, I want to give a singular analogy to expatiate the fraud in this whole process that was never, known to us. We have a particular word called Baramatu word. Baramatu word is one of the 4 in the Ijaw, belonging to the Ijaws. We also have Oporoza, one of the 4 belonging to the Ijaws, put together 2. The Oporoza is 25 units, while the Baramatu ward has 68 units. As we speak, those words has been transfigured by the magic to 9 words. Why is my own word, which is the Orire word, by size and voter strength, is massive, just like the Ugbododo, 60 words respectively. Do you know those 2 words, 60 words, remain the same? So by demographic implication, the Shekiris are comatosing like dinosaurs, while the Jaws are transfigurating. They are transfigured in multiple, in triples. So these are some of the factors that, of course, even a layman will be able to identify that some things have happened.
So just before we wrap up now, what's the way forward?
Yes, the way forward. I'll mention 3 ways to remedy this quagmire.
Before it snowballs into something.
Yes.
Yeah.
1, the federal government should inaugurate a panel of inquiry to interface with all stakeholders, the Shekiris, the Urobos, and the Ijos, and also evaluate they should evaluate the outcome of this draft. Secondly, these numbers I just mentioned, Inec should explain
how they came about it.
How they came about it, disregarding the historical context, the nomenclature of these places belonging to Itsekiri. Like I said, we're the majority in the Warri Federal Constituency. And also, they should announce to Nigerians, they should announce to the panel how they arrived at some fictitious names, fictitious units in the Warri South local government. And then thirdly, before we say they should go review it, especially for Warri South local government, are you going to build something on an illegal structure? Those judgments that are in our favor should be looked into and implemented as well. Then we can talk about reviewing, and then we'll say the situation is being remedied.
All right, Mr. Wala, do you have any other thoughts to add to this? Or, and just to ask, what will a peaceful resolution look like? Do you foresee that happening between the different communities at, at odds now?
Well, a peaceful resolution should just follow the Inec guidelines. If Inec does the right thing, documents that we have submitted, the judges have submitted, the Urobos have submitted, are reviewed properly. And also, just like my brother said, you cannot make the chairman of the committee of Inec delineation an Ijo woman. Then you should make the person an Itsekiri woman if the other people are going to accept it too. Secondly, when Inec got this judgment, when the Supreme Court judgment was declared, the judges and the Urobos were invited to Abuja to talk on this matter. Only the Shekiris were not invited. So are they now saying that Inec is now working with only certain stakeholders and they are against another stakeholder? So I think Inec should be fair. Everything should be done equally and there should be fairness.
And if you are against an Ijo woman being the in charge of the Delination Committee, where would you rather the person came from?
The person should come from, I even prefer the person should come from the north. Because you should not be an interested party in this matter.
Conflict of interest.
Yes. So there should not be, and the way it is now, Inec should not be in a hurry. The judgment said for future election, there's no election in 2025. The next election is 2027. So what we are expecting Inec to do is to put their house in order. So if there's any pending judgment, it should be implemented first, like the Warri South House of Assembly that is using illegal ward structure, and there are people receiving salary in the House of Assembly in Constituency 1 and Constituency 2 of Warri South. These are illegalities that we are permitting. So this should be looked into. First of all, Warri South does not have an House of Assembly representative as far as the 12th ward structure is concerned. Most recently, in 2022, the Federal High Court Justice Okonaban announced also again in the court, in his judgment, that the 12th ward structure is illegal, and he advised contempt of court. So these people, they know what they are doing when they are running around circles.
All right. Wemi Awala, Honorable Emiko Odietuwewe, thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time. We want the best at the end of the day for, these people. We want the Itsekiri people, the Ijaw people. We want to find lasting solutions and peace, and Inec certainly has a role to play. We hope that we can get a representative from Inec to speak to us about this story. But thank you, gentlemen, for your time.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go on a break. When we come back, we certainly have more conversations that we'll be exploring this morning on Breakfast Central. Do stay with us.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Now, following the recent directive by the Abia State government for the creation of a new capital city to decongest the city centre, the management of Umuahia Capital Development Authority says it has commenced talks with relevant persons on the possible location to be used. Speaking in an exclusive interview with News Central in Umuahia, the General Manager of the agency, Kingsley Agomoh, says the project is achievable in good record time. News Central's Chinwe Ogele has more.
Umuahia is a capital city defaced by a roadside market. Government says it has acquired the land for the market, waiting for developers to erect the stalls for petty traders.
His Excellency has paid compensation to those that lands were affected. Fencing has started. The design of the market, has been forwarded to His Excellency for his proposal and approval.
The traders are willing to move to a well-built market that they can easily access.
So they can provide where we can stay, like a market, small market area where cover with something, like it will be better for us to manage our market.
The General Manager of Umuahia Capital Development Authority, Kingsley Agomoh, says once a location is chosen for the new city, the area will be developed with basic amenities to attract residents.
We'll have a hub so that development can now leave the old town and move towards a new direction. So we're looking at two directions, either towards direction, so that the city can now connect with Aba, gradually connect with Aba, or move towards NNPC direction.
The government's central bus terminal, still under construction, is said to be one of the measures to make Umuahia a true state capital.
And then this is going to be a well-built bus terminal, which the state government is spending so much.
The General Manager is meeting with various groups who conduct their businesses under projections in Umuahia to inform them of plans to dismantle those which do not meet the government-approved standard. Although the people who will be affected by this action say they understand government's reason, they are however worried that they may not have anywhere else to go.
It's a good thing to make Abia State good. That's because of no market. People say we have a very big market. I have my shop at the back. Only that market is not doing it. That is why we are moving from street to street.
We are going to that. There are certain things that should be seen around.
The plan, according to the Abia State government, is to decongest this area, popularly called Itsekiri. In Umuahia for News Central, Chinwe Ogele.
It's time for breakfast headlines on News Central Television. Now, let's start by telling you that the federal government has flagged off a 65-kilometer three-lane dual carriage segment of the Lagos-Calabar Highway in Inec local government area of Akwa Ibom State. Governor Umuahia commended President Bola Tinubu for extending the project to his state. According to the Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, President Tinubu has ordered immediate reconstruction of the Calabar-Itu Road following widespread complaints about its deplorable condition. He assured that the road will be made motorable within the next 2 months.
Let me end by assuring our president, our people-loving president, who will complete 8 years, because we are going to stand by him. And this is the truth. He cannot start this work and abandon it. Somebody else may not finish it. Our prayer is to pray for Mr. President for good health, to finish the work that he has started and commission this work, so that this work will not be abandoned. Be like the East-West Road, like we have stayed there forever. This one will be finished, and the hand that has started it will finish it in Jesus' name.
The governor has complained about the construction of the Calabar Road. At every time he has always spoken about it, and we've taken a very decisive decision to honor him and honor the governor of Cross River. We've drafted high-tech to take off 20 kilometers of the road and reconstruct on concrete pavement. Immediately after Easter, high-tech is going to come in. The president has directed that the entire stretch be made motorable within the next 2 months.
We now head to Rivers State, where the House of Representatives Ad-Hoc Committee on Rivers State Oversight has invited the state's sole administrator, Vice Admiral Ibok-Ete Ibas, retired, for a meeting on Thursday, today, April 17, 2025. The decision was taken just a day after the committee was constituted by Speaker Kingsley Agomoh as its members held their inaugural meeting to examine preliminary reports and review the state of security in the state, chaired by House Majority Leader Professor Julius Iyonbere. Many view the committee as a soft landing of sorts for the declaration of a state of emergency by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which was widely condemned as illegal and unconstitutional. Meanwhile, the National Patriotic Coalition has urged President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to caution the sole administrator in Rivers State, Vice Admiral Ibok-Ete Ibas, retired over his alleged excesses in the discharge of his duties. Speaking at a press conference in Lagos, the National Coordinator of Activists for Good Governance, Declan Ihekhaire, and the Secretary of the group, Akitunde Adedeji, said the deliberate actions of the sole administrator are inimical to the sustenance of Nigeria's democracy. The coalition, urges the sole administrator to take advantage of the committee of the House of Representatives set up to oversee the legislative duties in Rivers State.
Purported probe, though denied, that Mr. Governor Fubara and the Deputy Governor should appear before him to explain why some appointments were made or were not made. We've just been briefed a few minutes ago that they have denied it. But in every story, there could be an altar of truth. So we want to believe that that denial is a perpetual denial. But if it surfaces again that the duly elected governor of a state who is just being suspended is being summoned by a sole administrator that does not have the mandate of the people, will hold him responsible. As far as we are concerned, the governor of Rivers State have not lost his immunity. And as far as we are concerned, the sole administrator does not have any immunity. And so, the democratic setting in Rivers State should be respected to the latter. It should be respected. And so we are calling on Mr. President to make sure that the sole administrator does not go against the tenets of rule of law, the tenets of democracy, and the tenets of the words in our constitution.
He should concentrate for the period of time, we will, preside, over the affairs of that, oil-rich, state. Anything short of that, will be resisted according to what the law says in this country.
The Commissioner of Police in Delta State, Olufemi Abadiwanda, has reiterated the command's determination to make the state intolerable for criminals by continuous proactive and intelligence-driven policing. Abadiwanda disclosed this at the 2025 first quarterly media briefing held at the State Police Command in Asaba, Delta State capital. The CP says the command recorded immense success in the fight against crime and criminality, which has given rise to the massive recovery of sophisticated firearms, stolen vehicles, hard drugs, and the arrest of suspects.
Arrested over 67 suspects involved in various crimes, which includes 35 suspected armed robbers, 24 suspected kidnappers, 5 murder suspects, 22 suspected cultists, 4 suspects arrested for rape and defilement offenses, and a total number of 13 kidnapped victims were rescued. A total number of 53 firearms, which includes 11 AK-47 rifles, 9 Beretta pistols, 19 single-barrel locally made quarter-size guns, and 13 pump-action guns were recovered. Lastly, a total of 5,612 rounds of ammunition cartridges were also recovered within the period under review.
Let's also tell you that former Governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, has petitioned the Inspector General of Police over alleged defamatory statements made against him by the suspended senator representing Kogi's Central Senatorial District in the National Assembly, Senator Natasha Akpotu-Brahan. In the petition, Bello called on the Nigerian police force to invite Senator Akpotu-Brahan to substantiate allegation against him with evidence. The former governor has also written to Senator Natasha Akpotu-Brahan demanding retraction and a public apology of defamatory statements made against him in 2 national dailies. All face legal consequences. The Kogi State government says it is setting its sights on an ambitious target of generating 1 billion naira in revenues from signage and advertisement by 2026. This is part of what it terms a broader strategy to boost the state's internal generated revenue and reduce dependence on federal allocations. The disclosure was made by Commissioner for Information and Communications Kingsley Agomoh during a management meeting with heads of agencies under the ministry in Lokoja. Agomoh described the appointment of Richard Osase as the General Manager of the Kogi State Signage and Advertising Agency as a masterstroke, noting that it will reposition the agency for greater efficiency and impact. And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. I'm Benga Bora. Breakfast Central continues shortly. You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. It's time for us to look at what the newspaper headlines are saying. And joining us this morning to dissect and cut into different pieces and also digest the newspaper headlines is a friend of the house, Owade Ahime, Head Strategy and Public Affairs at Nairametrics. Warm welcome to you.
Warm welcome.
Yes.
Good morning.
Benga, what do they say about great minds and colors?
They think alike.
We always get the
But Benga, why are you not a great mind this morning?
No, Benga
my singlet is this color.
Benga is a simple man.
My singlet is this color, but I can't review it on national TV.
You are just a simple man. Just make it white, black, dark.
No wahala.
Don't complicate things.
Did you work in the bank?
Never.
Okay.
My math is terrible. But I can count money.
Of course.
Yes,
Anyone who has F9 maths can still count money. Okay, let's go.
What is the newspaper saying?
Let's see what the paper is saying. Let's start with the Punch, which is a story we'll take later today on what Nigerians are saying. 800 per litre petrol in sight as oil prices fall. PMS drops again as Dangote cuts ex-depot rate to 835 naira per litre. Crude now $65 per barrel from $75 per barrel. Is this good news? Well, Nigerians are reacting differently. Emergency rule. Rivers women protest again. Reps panel summons Ibas. 2027 coalition to unseat Tinubu gain ground, says Atiku. Hundreds of Boko Haram suspects arrested in Lagos CJTF. Nigeria cuts power supply to Niger Republic. At the top, EFCC and SEC move to dismantle Ponzi schemes. Will they be successful? I don't know. Will some Nigerians still invest in another, fraudulent one like this? Most likely. Tinubu's France retreat sparks backlash amid rising insecurity. Plateau killings, police arrest key suspects, governor bans night grazing. Northern governors in joint push against resurgent attacks. Let's start with the Dangote story. Dangote cutting the ex-depo rate to 835 naira per litre, and it seems that 800 naira per litre is in sight. The petroleum manufacturers, Ipman, thank you.
P-Man. You want to sink. Creative.
The Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria had guaranteed us that petrol has the potential to come down to as low as 500, I believe they said, thereabouts. So is this good news? Great news?
If we get back to oil prices around COVID, between $30, $20, $40, then you might be able to get there.
With the current valuation of the Naira against the dollar.
Yeah, thereabouts. Yeah, you should be, might be able to get there.
But it's
bad take it at 1.5. Is it
economic?
So
foreign exchange receipts.
That's where the bad news is, because already we don't see the crude markets. From what they've said this year, the averages are looking at about $70 a barrel. Our budget has been on $75 a barrel, which is already saying that we have 13 trillion in budget deficit. So 5 over, that's 1 over 15 thereabouts, and then so you have another maybe another 5% increase or 10% increase. So let's just say another 1.3 trillion to be added to that deficit.
Are we going to be able to survive the shocks? Because I mean, the government put this $75 benchmark for a reason. They plan, they have ambitious projects. What implications would he have on them fulfilling this project and carrying out duties?
You need the money to be able to carry out the projects, and if first and foremost, and let's also remember that their budgets are based on 2 million barrels production, which I don't think we'll meet this year.
Yes.
I don't see where those investments are going to come to push crude oil production to 2 million. But we'll just borrow more.
Why is that the first thing that
comes to mind?
We'll tax Nigerians more, but there's no money to tax. Some businesses more and more businesses are cutting down, or some of them are closing up. And then you now come to the fact that what's the next option?
But the government is not.
I hear that there's another deal going on for another negotiations for another poverty, the World Bank poverty, what's it called, for another 17 billion. I think one of the newspapers carried that today. So that's just the first line. We borrow.
But the man on the street will tell you he doesn't see the impact of all this borrowing. Are we using it for overheads and salaries? What developmental projects? I know you're not a spokesperson for the government.
No, you're not.
We're thinking out loud.
We should call the Minister
Hello,
of Information to give us
I mean, if you do a fantastic job in reeling these policies out, you might just get, Mr. Sunday Dare said this round of appointments are not the end. When they took on the president on his charges of being nepotistic, he said more appointments will come, and they might just look your way. So we're giving you the chance.
I would love to serve my country. I love to serve my country in the best capacity, but I would also be willing to protect my own personal space and integrity. So
you have the agency. Really. Wow. Now, still looking at the Punch newspapers, Tinubu France retreat sparks backlash amidst rising insecurity. I mean, if this happened in other climes, the number of people that have died. Conservative estimates give over 200. In the time Mr. President has been away on a working visit to Paris, he would have cut short his visit since. What is happening in Paris that is so important that it can't come back and face urgent national issues? And this conversation has been going on for too long that it's quite insensitive of the president to do that.
Well,
there is a commander-in-chief of the armed forces. He sworn the constitution to protect the lives of Nigerians.
Well, he doesn't need to be in Nigeria to protect the lives of Nigerians, because he has people.
But the optics of it.
That's a different thing, and I will speak to that. He has people who are meant to do that, and are they doing their job well to the best of their ability? They are. In terms of the level of insecurity, everybody has been saying, insecurity has gone down, the government has done this and done that. We've always said, I think it was an issue of underreporting, and we're beginning to see it again. In the last 2 weeks count, almost 150. We don't even know the ones that have gone over the last 1 year, because we don't see them on the front pages of the newspapers anymore. And it is not just the header issue, it's all across the country. Yes. And so on. But the fact remains that Mr. President should, with all these things happening, in my own opinion, he should cut his visit short. But we need to ask his spokesman, maybe Mr. Anonuga can give us an insight on why it is so important that he has to remain there on this working visit. I think he's worked more from France than he's worked in Nigeria, in my own opinion. I would have to go check those dates.
We did an analysis,
but the fact for me remains that
59 days, if you combine all the trips together in the last 1 year to France. That's the figures we have. He's done 59 days. So that's 60 divided.
So just like
that's
2 months.
That's about 1/6 of his time. That's a lot of time.
So beyond even the length of the time, right? It's also the idea that there is a chaotic situation on ground, and the body language. We talked about body language a lot during Buhari's time. The body language does not communicate empathy. It's just like you hearing that your house is on fire and you are still somewhere. The first thing you do when you hear that your house is on fire is to find a way to run back home, to try and put things in order. Just telling them, oh, check the back of the door, there's fire extinguisher there. It gives off the sense that you're not as concerned about the people at home as you should be. But
I don't think that's the right analogy, and I'm not trying to defend him, but the fact remains that if your house is burning, and I'm using your analogy now, and you just can't get out from where you are, you said a few things, check the back of this, check that, which is what I believe he's doing.
How? By saying that the Plateau State governor should be, he did say that he should step up, he should take charge of security. He's the commander-in-chief.
Plateau State governor doesn't have the right to even order a private in the army.
Wow. But take charge of security. So the question here is, and I don't know, the question here is, what has been the issue really? I mean, what has been the relationship between the states and the federal government in terms of issue of terrorism, especially in these areas where they know that it has been very rife. So if there is a relationship, and which we also need to find out, is that what he's speaking to? I'm not trying to defend the president here, so don't get me wrong. But like I said, he has people who are meant to carry out these activities, and he doesn't need to be in Nigeria to give the others, because you can
Commander-in-Chief armed forces.
But so, Commander-in-Chief doesn't mean that if there is a war and they are fighting, that he's going to be at that war.
But it gives a level of confidence and assurance to the populace.
And I agree with you. Are you with me? And I agree with you that he should cut his trip short with all the things happening. And don't get me wrong, but let's not also forget the fact that he has made some statements, he has sent his condolences, he has asked those in charge of the security architecture on what to do. They have said they are deploying more troops in that direction. So give or take, but the like you said, the optics doesn't pay well. If Nigerians are being killed by terrorists, and can't cut your, and like I said, I don't know the reasons why he can't cut his working visit.
Why you can't cut it short and come back home?
So I really don't know why. So
because
we need to ask.
Even Nigeria need to know what is
so that's the question.
Trip about.
Yeah, what's the trip about? You've been away for 2 weeks.
You're our leader.
What are you doing there? Is there a bilateral meeting, or are you meeting with other European leaders and so on? But those are questions that nobody tells you. Just say, oh, the president is going away on a working visit. What kind of working visit?
If it was Olive, I know the answer.
Because when he did go on a state visit to France, we all knew that he went on a state visit. So what's a working visit? I really don't understand.
Before we move to our next paper, The Guardian, I just want us to touch on this briefly. EFCC, Security Exchanges Commission, moved to dismantle Ponzi schemes. How do you save human beings from themselves? It's like legislating or regulating church activities or religious activities where they offer miracles, and you know that these miracles are obviously dubious, but it's the person's choice. It's your choice to believe in 100% return on investment. Does the government have a responsibility to, to protect you?
Yes, they do. And the responsibility is first and foremost to pass the regulations to guide against that. That's one, which I think they are. And then the second part of it is to continually educate people about this kind of schemes and how people understand.
So is this case, this EFCC and SEC doing what they're doing now, is it not a case of medicine after death?
No, but I don't think so. I don't think so, because
I mean, the numbers.
So Benga, let me explain. Well, the numbers are huge, and it's always huge.
So if they were working, why is it huge?
This isn't the first time. This isn't the first time. In the last 5 years, this is about the third or fourth massive Ponzi scheme. In the last 10 years, it's probably more than that. And sitting in the media space and dealing in the financial space, we see it every day, and you're continually trying to educate Nigerians on XYZ. Oh, my brother just put in 1 million and he collected 1.5 million. It's too good to be true.
Can you manage that?
You can manage.
No, is it possible to?
Yeah, you can manage it by educating people on what the red flags are. There is no business in the world
that will give you 100%.
Even
I mean, they defend it and say, everything we do in the life is risky.
Even those who risk their lives in the drug business, are you with me? Even in the terrorist business, they don't make 100% returns or 50% returns in 1 month.
They'll say you're a chicken. There's a saying that scared money don't make no money.
Yeah, but
you go hard or go home.
Yeah. No. The higher the risk, the higher the reward. But there's a limit to how high the risk will be. The risk of parting away with your whole savings and not getting it back. I mean, so we find out that when these things start to come out, you know what is happening? It's coming to an end. When you start to hear about this kind of project schemes, it's getting to an end.
Collapse.
Why? Because the people no longer have, all the people who are putting the monies at the initial stage have collected all their monies and their interest and have moved on. So those who are coming towards the latter stage that you need to pay off and are hounding you, then you now have to start spreading the news. Oh, don't worry, I just bring 1 million. When we're doing petroleum, you don't have a refinery. Oh, don't worry, we sell crude. You don't have an oil company. Maybe you are into that. So those things are there. So it's to educate people and continually let them understand it. But you can't protect a human being from his own greed. Let me put it that way.
Very well, Sade. Now let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper. There are there's so many important stories here. We start with the headline: suspend France trip to address insecurity or details at Tinubu. There's also insecurity, economic concerns trail Tinubu's push for French census, national head count. I believe the last time we had a census was in 2006. Uade is a numbers man and they deal with statistics and figures. He'll be able to give us more insights into that. And fresh killings in Benue. Another day, another killing. Claims 10 lives. REA Lagos to replace over 4 million generators with rooftop, the rural electricity agencies. To replace 4 million generators with rooftop solar. I'm looking forward to that, and I hope it comes to fruition because of the noise and environmental pollution that generators emit. Federal government plan and approves 5 billion to curb 15 billion, I beg your pardon, to club flood disasters. And Lukman alleges PDP governors aiding Tinubu as Atiku intensifies coalition agenda. Abudu makes Times 100 most influential people in the world. Okay, let's start with the national headcount. Why is it important for us to know our population? Why is the national headcount important?
So for a number of reasons. One, economics. So you know how many people you have, what they call that thing, age group, youth, adults, and so on, so that you can actually plan. You have more. You have more older people, and then when you start looking at that, health facilities, what kind of health facilities you put in place, what kind of road infrastructure do you put in place, what's the concentration of people around different places, and that's what speaks to how you go about your infrastructure development, your economic development, and so on. So that's really important. But what beats me in Nigeria is this. The last head count, I think, was in 2006, which is almost 20 years. And
we were 140 million then.
And now we are estimated to be over 200 million.
Yes, 236 million.
Yeah, but nobody has told us where the additional 100 million people have come from. Are you with me? Where, let me finish. Where are they? Where do they reside? Which states are they? What's their migration pattern? Because these are things that you need to have, and that's the data that helps you as a government plan, one, your economic development, your infrastructure development, your social development, and all these things all come together.
So have we been walking blindly all this while?
There's no data about Nigerians in Nigeria. So what we just hear is that we're about 240, over 200 million Nigerians. Yes. Where are they? Who are they? Now, a good way, rather than continually putting, in my own opinion, putting so much money on doing headcounts, is make the NIN system work.
Exactly.
If you had created the NIN system to work, by now, are you with me? The NIN idea came under the Obasanjo administration. And Obasanjo has left power now for 22 years. And we still don't have 100 million people in NIN. Then how do you even want to know how many newborns are coming into Nigeria, are being born in Nigeria? How do you want to know how many Nigerians have passed away?
I believe that, yes, death certificates, birth certificates.
And so when you issue a death certificate, you should be able to tie it to someone's NIN so that record can be expunged. Yeah. You don't need to expunge it, but it's closed. When new children are born, hospitals need to be able to register them. So even your birth certificate being issued must go through the national
digitalized too.
To go into the NIN. That's what it means. It means that every hospital in Nigeria, are you with me, should have an access to registering births once children are born. If you are born outside a hospital system, then it is mandatory for you to take that baby and go and register so that we know. Otherwise, it doesn't count. But it gave a fair estimate of how many Nigerians are actually, how many we are in Nigeria, whether it's still the 140 million or the 240 million that we are now estimated, and so on and so forth. And then it helps you plan, because data now starts to tell you when people move from one point to the other, because of residence, because of work, you know where they are, because when they register, all those things are brought up in terms of how taxes are paid, where taxes should be paid.
Resource allocation too.
Exactly. But we don't have that data. So every time you hear, vulnerable households are...
How many?
That's
social register.
That's another point.
Data has been a major challenge for us for
a while. Let's just...
And imagine the private sector operating without data. I mean, it's like not having oxygen. Yes.
Yeah, one of the reasons why the BVN came in was so that at least you can even capture data of those, how many people had bank accounts.
So we know those who are financially excluded.
Exactly. So the NIN is the life and blood of population census. So that when a child is born, when people die and you register those deaths, automatically it goes into the system. So you'll find out that that's why you want to do voters register updates, and then you still have 100 million voters, maybe 5 million of them are dead. Or 5 million of them are, well, they're not ghost voters. They are ghost voters, or some of them have jackpot and their names are still there, but they just updated before they jackpot. How do you know, and how do you check all these things? But of course, we have data in silos, BVN, voters register,
so unification
driver's
of all
license.
Information.
But it's good now that for you to issue any of those things, you need an NIN. And that's the easiest way to get it done. And once you do that, then it's easy for you to check the records of anybody, or most people, and know what they're doing and where they are, even to issue a passport. And this idea of you have to be old enough to, if you want to get a passport for your baby, get it. And all these things should be done like that. The passport is not a privilege.
It's a right.
Exactly.
But I believe the Minister of Interior.
Oh, he's done it. He's done so well. Well, I don't know whether he's done fantastic. Well, from where you're coming from, he's done fantastic because the system has always not been very good. But these are the things that are meant to be done. I don't see the reason why it takes him to come in for Nigeria to start to get his passport system right. It's just about building that system, in my opinion.
Finally, I just want us to quickly touch on this as much as we can. On the Daily Trust, the big story there, federal government makes peace move to Niger Republic. Toga meets with country's delegation in Niamey. A little too late, or a step in the right direction?
Well, I think it's a step in the right direction. I know one of the things that they did initially was cut off their power supply, which you're supposed to supply them power. There's an agreement to that, and so on. The power supply was restored, and so on. But I think as the big brother in West Africa, we also need to consider some of the things that a number of these countries are facing, including ourselves. Are you with me? And see how we can harness that relationship. At the end of the day, border security, sovereignty of countries become very, very important. And that's why you have challenges in putting together, whether you call it an ECOWAS border security system, because country doesn't agree with what you want, and country B is saying, no, this is how it must be, and so on and so forth. But with all the things that have happened, the military administration is still there. I think it's high time that we, as Nigerians, as Africans, come back and start to look for how do we find the best solutions to make us develop.
Right. Warri Ahimian, thank you for your thoughts on the stories. Federal government, we of course certainly want more peace and less crisis within the ECOWAS region. We need to be a more united front, not ECOWAS for mouth, right? Exactly. We need to see a practical unification of the states within the regional bloc, or the countries within the regional bloc.
When they finally decide to do the census, you won't be in Paris or in the UK. You would like it to be counted.
Well, if when they do it, I'm planning to go out and walk or go on vacation, I will be gone. But that, like I said, why don't I have an NIN?
Why can't we just?
Well, and this is also an opportunity, are you with me, for me to get more people registered into the NIN system. I hope it's not the census that they're going to send some people and then they're going to take your name on a piece of paper. No, I hope you have a system that when you're taking people's names, those who have NINs, when you click on it, it shows that they are already registered as an NIN. Those who don't have NIN can be created immediately and generate an NIN number. That's what my thinking should be.
All right. Thank you for your time with us this morning, and thank you to our audience joining us for the newspaper reviews. We will go on a break, and when we come back, we're bringing you what Nigerians are saying about Dangote slashing petrol price to 835 naira to the retailers. Are you excited? Well, it hasn't quite gotten the reaction that we expected, but we'll take a look at that. Nigerians are talking about Dangote refinery because in a very interesting move, they again have lowered the pump price of petrol to retailers, and it's come down to 835 naira per litre, slashing, a whooping 30 naira from what it was before. Now, some have reacted positively to this, saying that they're loving the energy and what seems like a price war, a price battle between Dangote and the NNPC. There are others who think that this is just a selfish move on his part to secure the market. There still are others who would argue that it is because of the reduction in the global price of crude that might have impacted this. Different sides of the divide, but of course, Nigerians have been reacting to this, and a number of them are complaining that the reduction by Dangote is not yet reflected at the different filling stations. In fact, they've asked the Dangote refinery to please share with them the addresses of their different filling stations that they retail to so that they can go directly to purchase from them. And as expected, Nigerians are already complaining about the fact that if Dangote has reduced this price, why are we not seeing it reflected in transportation, reflected, yes, at the other retail filling stations, and then reflected generally across board? These are the sentiments of Nigerians regarding this. Maybe not as excited as you would have hoped they'll be, but let's go straight to the tweets to see what Nigerians are saying about Dangote dropping the pump price of petrol to 835. Oxley Technology says, Dangote always hitting NNPC below the belt. I'm loving this dirty competition, he says. Our next tweet is from, let's move on to the next tweet, please. FB Olise says, Dangote is a part of the problem in this country. Decentralize every sector and stop the game of monopoly. Not that one man will use Nigerian money to be doing business for the cabals, he says. We move away from FB Olise to our next tweet. Ogidi of Abuja says, Dangote dragging NNPC. Thank you for the price slash. We hope for more reduction. Of course, the Nigerian people are the ones who benefit when their cabals or when there are clashes that seem to reduce the prices. Kevin Bennett says, all this reduction are political to make it look like the system is working. They are playing human psychology, and that way with the fluctuating prices, the masses won't be able to launch any resistance or protest. Moving away from Kelvin, our next reaction is from Ragnarok, who says he's trying, but unfortunately, the reduction isn't trickling down positively to the common man. Fuel prices are 900 plus and above, and food prices and other household amenities are still ridiculously high. Absolutely. Moving away from Ragnarok, Forbes Serial says, watch out for petrol station owners. The Nigerians in them will come out and start hoarding fuel for it to go up again. Shame, I beg you. I beg you, people should not hoard fuel because we are the ones that will suffer it at the end of the day. But let's go away from Cyril's tweet. The final tweet we have this morning is from Lotta that says he should reduce it to 68 naira to celebrate his birthday. Then next year when he clocks 69, he should reduce it to 69 naira and so on. Is this played?
I love that.
Benga, are you listening to this?
It's something I can say.
It's something you can say, right? But do you also, I wanted to get your thoughts about the reduction in the pump price.
I think people are just being unnecessarily woke by saying, he's doing this to undercut competition. It's a businessman at the end of the day.
He's a businessman. He's not running a charity.
The sector has been deregulated. So global prices have gone down. He has every right to. You there, you are being woke. When you get to the petrol station, tell them to sell it for you at 930 something.
Yes.
That you don't want to.
You don't want this low price.
You are encouraging. You don't want
to monopoly.
Exactly.
Right. But maybe we should ask our audience. Let us know what your thoughts are about Dangote's reduction of the pump price of petrol, and if it is something that you are excited about. As for me and mine, I'm very excited to buy fuel at 500 naira. Should it come down to 500, we'll be excited about that. Ipman has made projections as to what the potentials are, but the next few months will reveal that. But this is all we can take this morning on what Nigerians are saying And this is how we wrap up Breakfast Central. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back again tomorrow. Hopefully, the rains can behave themselves. They behave itself. The rain should calm down. Lucky people, island people are suffering. Rain, please calm down. We'll be back again tomorrow. I am Olive Emodi.
And I'm being off to fill my tank before it goes back to 900 parts.
Au revoir. Bonjour.
Bye-bye.
You not say bonjour.